very warm welcome to this webinar. Prime Minister Modi has shared that how we have to go vocal about the local and how we can contribute for the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we have got a great panel today, and the people who have built indigenous brands and made a huge difference, not only for India, but for the whole world. So my name is Pankaj Gupta. I am president of IHMR University, Jaipur. So I'll be just sharing these greatest stalwarts, though you already know about them, and then we'll be moving on. So our speakers include Hira Lalji, who is Additional Managing Director with the National Health Mission. He's an IAS officer and made a huge impact in many places where he has worked. Currently, he is Additional Mission Director with Government of UP. Can you go to the next slide? Yeah, yes, anyway, about me, I'm currently with IHMR University. And I'd like to share with you that we, the IHMR University, is the top university in the area of healthcare research. And we've been doing a lot of high impact research with many national and international organizations, including WHO, United Nations, World Bank, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, just to name a few. And our research in the area of health management has helped the policymakers in making policies and also improving the health systems. And our students are working all over the world in health organizations, consultancies, government organizations, and making a big difference in the area of healthcare in India and all over the world. So next slide, please. Ethan? Yeah, so I'll be just coming to the other panelists, but I just thought to share that what are the main discussion point of this webinar. That that in the earlier Modi 1.0, there was a lot of discussion about Made in India. But now we are talking about revival of this Made in India in a new avatar. And could we call it by local for local? Or we can say that we have to take a stand for local. Then what is the importance of local manufacturing, local market, and the local supply chain? And then the other question is that, do you think that there are brands in India which are more local in its presence in India than in their own parent countries? And do you think that only a branding strategy or they really connect to the local realities? We have seen that many of the international brands, when they were put in the Indian flavor and they were Indianized, then they got the higher rate of success in India. And then next point is that, is it required not only to buy the local product, but also to promote them with a sense of pride and with a sense of belongingness? And do you think that such movement and campaigns are bound to make for traction and action? And the local has fulfilled our demands in the time of crisis. And how do we nurture that? And are we expecting to see the multinational brand making any other counter plans or making a customization for India? And in the today's globalized world, how we see that when we are talking about being local, so is it being anti-global or protecting our own interest in the interest of the... Then I was already sharing about Hira Lalji, that he is Additional Mission Director with the Government of UP. Thank you and welcome, Hira Lalji.
Thank you.
And next, our distinguished speaker is Harish Bijurji. He is a well-known name in branding, and he is advising top corporate and very big name. As you know that Harish Bijurji is a renowned brand guru. He runs a unique boutique consulting outfit brand, Harish Bijur Consultants. And he has presence across the markets in Hong Kong, Seattle, London, Istanbul, Dubai, and the Indian subcontinent. He has spent his career across aggressive realms of FMCG, telecom, and consumer durables. And he is considered a marketing practitioner and thinker who is ahead of the consumer thinking curve year on year, and a public speaker and a great marketing guru. Then we have our own Dr. R.S. Sodiji, the managing director of Amul, the Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation. Yeah, please go to the previous slide, Mr. Ethan. Yeah. So Dr. Sodhi is MD of Amul, the India's largest food product organization. Dr. Sodhi has 38 years of rich experience in leading and developing the cooperative sector within the Indian dairy industry. He has been responsible for creating the current structure of Amul, enabling the organization to maintain and enhance its leadership status within the Indian dairy industry. So warm welcome, Sodhi. Next. Then we have Samar Singh Shekhawat ji. Next slide, Hitin. Yeah, so Samar Singh Shekhawat ji is the former CMO of United Breweries. He is a brand consultant, thought leader, a startup advisor, and professional public speaker. As a business management leader, Samar has marketing and sales experience across multiple industries. He has worked on several projects across US, UK, Netherlands, Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Nepal. So his business approach has been to strengthen customer preferences and in very intense competitive context. And he delivered sustained growth on revenue and profitability, creating stakeholder value and powering sustained business leadership. So warm welcome to you, Samar. Then we have Ajoy Chawla, the CEO of jewelry division of Titan Jewelry Business. And that houses the iconic brands such as Tanishq, Mia, Zoya, Carrot Lane. Prior to this role, he was responsible for strategy and new business incubation at Titan for 5 years and was tasked with the nurturing and launching the Titan's new business fragrances and Indian ethnic women's wear. Ajoy has also led watch business within Titan, responsible for driving P&L of domestic and international business. And he has lived the life of an entrepreneur besides launching fragrances and saris. He also has a successful record of incubating new businesses for Titan, including the Helios, a multi-brand premium retail chain, Fast Track, sunglasses, and other international licensed brands. So welcome to you, Ajoy. And then we have Saurabh, founder and managing partner with BOD. Next slide, please. Yeah, so Saurabh is an international award-winning strategy consultant, visiting faculty at leading business school, independent director, and serve as an advisor on the board of both listed and non-listed firms. He is a founder and managing director of BOD, a management consulting firm focused on mid-market enterprises across industries and geographies. He has worked extensively with clients on building their growth roadmap and vision, creating new brand value, organization transformation, and driving internal and external stakeholder engagement. He is also a co-founder of CrediHealth.com, that is India's largest medical assistance platform for the tertiary care. So welcome, Saurabh. And we have our own Dr. Sheenu Jain, who is a moderator of this panel. She is the real force behind this whole webinar. And I'm very thankful to you, Sheenu, for this. And she's an associate professor, marketing, and chair, Center for Innovation, Incubation, and Entrepreneurship, and chair branding and communications at IHMR University. And she's also the moderator for this fireside chat this evening. So over to you, Sheenu. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. I know because Harish has to leave little early, without wasting any time, would like to start this chat as early as we can. Harish, my first question to you is, what is your opinion about this new mantra of vocal about local?
Okay. First of all, I think vocal about local belongs to Prime Minister Modi ji. And I think in his typical manner, he has laid out this clarion call for India to follow. So my opinion about this mantra is that, I do believe this here. It has come at various points of time in the history of India. If you really look at what started as the Vidarbha movement in days of yore, and later, time and again, we have come to movements which have said made in India, Alisha Chennai sang a wonderful song, Made in India, and the Made in India concept got buried with that. Once again, we are talking Make in India for a period of time. We spoke Made in India, and the new avatar is hashtag vocal about local. I'm excited about vocal about local. Fundamentally, I think my opinion and question is this a constraint-led call or is this a volition-led call? For me, this looks certainly to be a constraint-led call. Because if you look globally at this point of time, I think, the world is not flat anymore. The world has collapsed and the world is very pitted. It's pitted because the flat world, which was seamlessly connected to one another, doesn't exist anymore. At this point of time, the way I look at it, we live in a world that has got physically disconnected. So the world gets disconnected by a virus. And how? I work in the auto industry. I work with 2 clients in the auto industry. And both these guys, one manufactures in Chennai, another close to Delhi. Both these guys actually source components. Where do these components come from? They come from 6 different country destinations. Post-COVID, these operations, even if they were able to run, they could not run because you were importing these components. India itself has very robust tooling centers, very robust production centers, but I don't think we have developed them to the context of being able to supply to a global brand name manufactured in India. So I think, the world has got physically disconnected. And in a physically disconnected world, the flat world is not a concept. It's a pitted world. Imagine a flat piece of land, everything is pitted, and each pit is a country. And self-reliance, it seems to be the mantra, not only for India, but this is going to be a mantra for n numbers of countries. Self-sufficiency. If I could take care of those components that need to come from 6 countries, instead of that, if I could make it on my own, within my own country, then I would be self-sufficient. So I think to that extent, this clarion call of PM Modi is a solid call. It says, let's get self-reliant. Only one point, and then I'll close this question, which is to say that, we need to separate the emotion from the reality. There's something which is an emotion, and that emotion is Make in India. But you must separate that Make in India emotion from the reality of whether we can really make in India and whether we can make that very same quality product within the Indian context. And if we can, then this call must be heeded to, and we need to rush into it very fast. In some categories, you can do it. Take for instance, milk. RS Sodi is here and a good friend. I would just say that Amul is possibly the global standard as far as milk products are concerned. So with an Amul, it has already been done. But can you do this and replicate in every vertical that represents quality for India is the key question we need to answer. So I'm saying separate the emotion of vocal for local from the reality whether every industry can go vocal for local or every industry cannot go immediately vocal for local. So for me, vocal for local is a plan. In some categories, like Amul, it's a current plan, full stop. It's yesterday's plan. When it comes to certain categories, it may be 2 years from now. And in some categories, maybe 7 years from now. But we need to prepare for that. Actually, Gandhiji took us on this path. He actually wanted us to get onto this path. But I don't think we followed Gandhiji the way we should have as a nation followed Gandhiism. We have understood Gandhigiri and glamorized Gandhigiri. But Gandhiism, no, not yet. I think vocal for local is certainly a part of Gandhiism.
Well said, Harish, that separate emotions from reality. But you know what? Consumer is paranoid today and predictably irrational. Do you think Indian local brands can deal with such consumers?
Yes, why not? If you take a look at the categories that have done exceedingly well in this country, you can take any category which is in food and beverage, for instance. They've done exceedingly well. We have some of the best brands in this country which talk of the largest volumes in terms of scale. I've already spoken about milk, the Amul model, etc. But let's talk about Parle biscuits. I mean, if you're really talking about it, that's a behemoth biscuit company. and let's see what they've laid out. They have the best quality offerings across a turnover of what must be about 13,000 crores as far as India is concerned. We have Haldiram's. If you really talk about Indian snack, Indian bhujiyas, Indian way of doing things, yes, we are there. Yes, in these categories, yes, we are there. Food, beverage. But tech products, my dear friends, sorry, we aren't there at all. I work a fair bit in the tech product and tech services category. But if you really look at it in both these segments, I'm disappointed that we don't have those brilliant tech products that we can call real quality stuff. We don't have those brilliant tech services items, which we can call brilliant. Take, for instance, what happened yesterday, in terms of with Mitron, let's say, Mitron, what a lovely name. Okay. But then Mitron got downloaded. I think there was 5 million people in this country who downloaded Mitron within a period of a week, saying, goodbye, TikTok. TikTok, you are China made, and we don't want you. But guess what? Mitron failed. And guess what? People are being told today to hold back. So what am I talking about? It's not only that, it's about saying, can we match the quality everywhere? Food and beverage, yes. Certain other categories, slow. Tech products, that's the ultimate fantasy of mine, to say the day we are able to make and crack tech products, I think we have arrived. So paranoia of the consumer will go over a period of time. And after the paranoia goes, it'll be back to water will find its own level, and people will say, I want good quality stuff at a good price. And the good price is what I can afford to pay. Sheenu?
Yeah. So Harish, do you really think this is gonna go a long way in the Indian context? Or you think it's gonna die in some time like any other marketing gimmick?
Sheenu, these are calls. This call has come from no one less than Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. So you're really talking about nobody else could give a bigger clarion call than this. But the point is right. Will this call get into action and traction, as I call it? Action and traction will or will not happen. And that's dependent on, I use the tennis ball analogy in a recent article that I wrote on the subject. I say that, this ball has been bounced by PM Modi, and he's given it a big pat with his tennis racket. Now the ball has bounced once. Now the others have to bounce this ball further. Who are the others who are going to bounce this ball further? Companies who have a vested interest in saying made in India for the Indian. They will bounce this ball. Every corporate will bounce this ball. Every Indian corporate will bounce this ball. Every Indian corporate is going to have advertising out there which is going to look more Indian than Indian. They were Desi already, but they're going to look even more Desi than Desi. And I'm already working with a clutch of clients in creating this kind of advertising. Everybody has a plan. The Indian company wants to look more Indian than Indian. And of course, there are many other types of companies. People have to keep bouncing the ball. So the Indian corporate will invest money to bounce the ball further, saying hashtag vocal for local. And then Indian businesses will bounce that ball and say hashtag vocal for local. Indian banks will bounce the ball and say hashtag vocal for local. Our funding will be for you, and our funding is going to be very, very exciting if you are a local company. So that's going to go on. Essentially, I'll sum up this answer in saying there are many types of companies in India today. There's one type of company which all of us know and call the multinational corporation. This is the transnational corporation. This is a corporation which exists across the globe. It has global brands. It brings in the global brand. The global brand enters India first as an import, as a 100% import. Once the import happens and once market traction occurs, they know there is market, there's volume, they start manufacturing in India. But there is a big question mark there. And the question mark is that the multinational corporation or the transnational corporation actually, takes money and it actually, repatriates profits from India into the mother destination of the country. So by that definition, that company, though it makes in India, may or may not be a totally Indian company. So that is one type of company, the multinational corporation. So first is MNC, which imports its products 100% from overseas. It could be anybody. It could be a Louis Vuitton. But Louis Vuitton, I would typically call it a Chennai Express because, maybe it's made in India, possibly in Chennai, and then it goes to Hong Kong, and then it returns from Hong Kong back into India, and it certainly is an import. That is one type of company. Now, that kind of company is going to be called a foreign company. The second kind of a company is actually the multinational corporation which makes in India but has roots overseas. Nestle is a classic example. Its roots in Vevey in Switzerland. So that's a classic. HUL is a classic example, makes in India. But you know, that is the same. So these two cluster companies would be companies which send some money out. And then there's a third kind of a company. And that third kind of a company is an Indian multinational, as I would call it, which is an ITC, let's say. A large corporation, large business suite, and they make for the world even, and they actually they're Indian, completely no repatriation of profits possible. And the fourth kind of company is the large Indian company or the semi-large Indian company. It could be anybody. It could be a Dabur, it could be Haldiram's, it could be somebody like that. They are also about India. And the last kind of company is essentially the retro cool companies. You know, a Patanjali Ayurveda is a classic case of Baba Ramdev and Balakrishna of saying that, you know, it's retro cool, back to Ayurveda. So the last three of them are going to be seen as a cluster of Indian brands, and the top two are going to be seen as a cluster of foreign brands. But many of these foreign brands make in India, and therefore, I don't think this vocal for local will kick in on that particular platform.
Thank you so much, Harish, for sharing these thoughts. I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of how this will proceed further. I wish you could have stayed with us for a longer period of time, but
yeah, I need to run. But I would just say this, Shinu, that if I'm going to catch up on this panel, definitely, because I have all my friends on this panel, and they are the biggest doyens in each of the spaces that they dominate. So I'm going to definitely catch that up. And in case the panel, in case the viewers have any questions, they're welcome to mail me at harishbijur@hotmail.com, and I'm willing to answer that.
I'll personally forward it to you. I'll do that. Thank you, Harish. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harish.
Bye.
Thanks, Harish. See you soon.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Harish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My next question is to Hiranal ji.
Okay.
सर, हम सब जानते हैं प्रधानमंत्री जी के लोकल अबाउट वोकल के अनाउंसमेंट से पहले ही आपने इस इनिशिएटिव को दिया था. 5th February 2020, if I remember it correctly, इनोवेटिव बांदा. भारत में शासन की सबसे छोटी इकाई एक गांव है. कहा जाता है कि भारत गांवों में बसता है. आपको क्या लगता है वोकल अबाउट लोकल वहां पर कैसे अपनाया जा सकता है?
देखिए, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड लाइक टू वेलकम ऑल द स्पीकर्स एंड ऑल द पार्टिसिपेंट्स. आपने क्योंकि बात हिंदी में शुरू कर दी तो मैं हिंदी में ही बात करता हूं कि कोई बात नहीं. ऐसा है कि ये जो आपने बात छेड़ी वोकल फॉर लोकल, लॉकडाउन के पहले मैं बांदा में करीब 1.5 साल कलेक्टर था. तो जब मैं बांदा में कलेक्टर था तो बांदा में बड़ी गरीबी और बड़ा कुछ देखने को मिलता था, तो मुझे बड़ा पीड़ा हुआ करता था. तो मैं सोचता था कि वहाँ की लोगों के चेहरे पे खुशहाली कैसे लाई जाए, इनकम कैसे बढ़ाया जाए. इंडस्ट्री के माध्यम से हो नहीं सकता था. वहाँ टोटल इकोनॉमी एग्रीकल्चर बेस्ड है. तो एक स्कीम चलती है उत्तर प्रदेश भारत सरकार की, डबलिंग द इनकम ऑफ फार्मर्स बाय 2022. तो हमने सोचा इसी के सहारे कुछ इनका इनकम इंप्रूव किया जाए. तो इसको लेकर के हम लोगों ने कुछ छोटे छोटे इनिशिएटिव, अभी जब मैं इनको सुन रहा था हरीश जी को, तो हम इनका तो बड़ा इंटरनेशनल और नेशनल टाइप का, हमारा टोटल गांव टाइप का है क्या, देहाती. मैं खुद अपने को कहता था मैं कलेक्टर, देहाती कलेक्टर हूँ. इवन आई यूज्ड टू स्पीक इन माई स्पीच कि मैं देहाती कलेक्टर हूँ, जिससे एक मेरा बहुत बढ़िया कनेक्ट बनता था. तो डबल इनकम करने के लिए हम लोगों ने बहुत छोटे छोटे वी टुक स्मॉल steps, initiatives to improve the income in the light of doubling income of the farmers. इसके लिए हमने क्या सहारा लिया? देखिए, अगर आप बड़ी बड़ी बातें, इस देश में खूब बड़ी बड़ी बातें होती हैं, बड़ा बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट बनता है, 5-5 किलो के 10-10 किलो के प्रोजेक्ट, बढ़िया उसकी बाइंडिंग होती है, और जब वो फील्ड में जाता है तो इम्प्लीमेंटेशन उसका उतना ही खराब होता है. वो देखने में जितना मोटा और जितना अच्छा होता है. ये कड़वा सच है, इससे आप भी परिचित, हम भी परिचित हैं. तो हमने एक ट्रिक लगाई वहां पे। अब वो ट्रिक हमारी 3 आधारित थी कि इनकम इंप्रूव करने में जितने भी स्टेक होल्डर हैं सबको एक घाट पे लाया जाए, मीनिंग देयर बाय पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ स्टेक होल्डर्स। दैट वाज द फर्स्ट ट्रिक एंड टेक्निक। सेकंड क्या था, पैसा वैसा मांगो तो कोई देता नहीं है, या पैसा मांगोगे तो मिलेगा नहीं और आपका काम शुरू नहीं होगा। तो हम लोगों ने कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, फंड, इनपुट्स, 5, 6, 7, 8 विभाग के जितने भी एग्रीकल्चर से एसोसिएटेड विभाग थे उनके जो भी फंड थे उनको कन्वर्ज किया। तो और तीसरा फार्मूला हम लोगों ने अपनाया, लो कास्ट और नो कास्ट। वो एक महाराष्ट्र में सुभाष पालेकर जी हैं, उनका ये फार्मूला बहुत फेमस है, 0 बजट की खेती। तो मैंने सुन रखा है, मुझे जाना भी है, मैं मौका नहीं मिला। तो लो कास्ट और नो कास्ट फर्स्ट टेक्निक, कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ स्टेक होल्डर्स सेकेंड टेक्निक, एंड थर्ड इज द पार्टिसिपेशन ऑफ स्टेक होल्डर्स, एंड थर्ड कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ द इनपुट। इन तीनों पे हम लोगों ने काम किया। अब देखिए कैसे काम किया, ये फार्मूला बड़ा कारगर रहा और बहुत ही लोगों को भाया। क्या किया हम लोगों ने, नॉलेज इज पावर, इसी सेंटेंस को पकड़ लिया कि अगर हमें किसान की आय बढ़ानी है तो उसे हमें इंपावर करना है। इंपावर हम उसे कैसे करेंगे, थ्रू गिविंग देम अप टू डेट नॉलेज, relevant knowledge, so that they become empowered, and with that power they can increase their income. We selected all the progressive farmers in different fields: dairy, fisheries, vegetables, cereals. We selected progressive farmers and we sent them to different best practices excellent centers. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, जैसे सबसे पहले हम लोगों ने कन्नौज में एक वेजिटेबल का एक्सीलेंट सेंटर है, इजराइल से बना है, हमने वहां अपने किसानों को भेजा, और जब वो लोग लौट के आए तो उनका जज्बा और जोश देखने लायक था। वहां से उन लोगों ने बहुत सारे सीड खरीद के लाए, सीख के लाए और अप्लाई किया। फिर करीब हम लोगों ने सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप की महिलाओं को, जो अपने गांव की बाउंड्री से कभी नहीं निकल पाई होंगी, जैसा उन लोगों ने बताया था, क्योंकि उनको जाने के पहले हम ही ने हरी झंडी एज ए कलेक्टर दिखाया था, तो उनको हमने भेजा इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ वेजिटेबल रिसर्च बनारस। वहां वो 7 दिन रह करके देख के आई, और 7 दिन उन्होंने जो देखा, सुना, पढ़ा, समझा, जब लौट के आए मैंने उनसे फीडबैक लिया। उनके चेहरे पर, उनके मन में, उनके सोच में एक यू टर्न था, एक चेंज था। इसी तरह से हमने पुणे में, DRI चित्रकूट में 500 महिलाओं को, NRLM एक हमारी स्कीम है, सेल्फ हेल्प ग्रुप की 500 महिलाओं को 7 दिन के लिए ट्रेनिंग पर भेजा। वहां उनके हॉस्टल में रह के दे अप स्किल्ड देयर एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप। फिशरीज के लोगों को भेजा। हमीरपुर में एक प्रधान जी का काम बहुत अच्छा, उस गांव में भेजा, और रालेगांव सिद्धि भेजा। हमने अपने प्रधानों से कहा कि प्रधान जी लोग, आप लोग मॉडल विलेज बनाइए। मॉडल विलेज क्या होता, कैसे होता, मुझे भी नहीं मालूम, क्योंकि हमने कोई मॉडल विलेज नहीं बनाया है। आई एम ए जर्नलिस्ट। तो मैंने उन्हें रालेगांव सिद्धि भेजा। रालेगांव सिद्धि आप सभी लोग जानते होंगे किसका गांव है, पता है कि नहीं पता है? श्री अन्ना हजारे जी का गांव है। उनके गांव भेजा। उन्हीं के गांव के बगल में एक और मॉडल गांव था, वहां भेजा। इस तरह से हमने नॉलेज गेनिंग टूर कराया, उनको इंपावर्ड किया, और सेंटेंस केवल इतना था, नॉलेज इज पावर। करीब हमने 5000 प्रोग्रेसिव किसानों को बाहर भेज करके उनके दिमाग को अपडेट किया, उनके अंदर नॉलेज से इंपावर्ड किया। ये काम तो ये किया। दूसरा काम हमने, देखिए हमारा काम बहुत छोटा छोटा है भाई, और देहाती टाइप का है, इसमें कोई बड़ा बड़ा प्रोजेक्ट 5 किलो का या 6 किलो का कोई बाइंडिंग। ये जो हमने टूर ऑर्गेनाइज किया, ये सब हम सरकारी खर्च। देखिए हमारे विभागों में किसान के टूर के लिए डिफरेंट स्कीम में पैसे होते हैं, तो कभी हार्टिकल्चर के विभाग के से भेज दिया, तो कभी एग्रीकल्चर से भेज दिया, तो कभी सॉइल कंजर्वेशन से भेज दिया, जो हम कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ इनपुट। दूसरा हमने कहा, अगर एक्सीलेंट सेंटर कन्नौज में हो सकता है तो बांदा में क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए? होना चाहिए। हमारे पास हार्टिकल्चर की जमीन थी, नेशनल हार्टिकल्चर मिशन था। हमने कहा उस जमीन पे एक एक्सीलेंट सेंटर बनाया जाए। डॉक्यूमेंटेशन किया, सब किया, और हमारा वो एक्सीलेंट सेंटर अप्रूव हो गया और बन रहा है। पावर सेंटर बना दिया किसानों के लिए, पावर नॉलेज का पावर सप्लाई करेगा ये ग्रोथ सेंटर, पावर सेंटर। लाइकवाइज देयर इज ए तहसील नेम्ड अतर्रा, वहां हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा फार्म हाउस है, एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट। तो हम वहाँ क्या करते थे, सीड प्रोड्यूस करते हैं, सर्टिफाइड सीड। हमने कहा नहीं, इसको भी एक्सीलेंस सेंटर में बदलूंगा और पूरे बुंदेलखंड के 7 जिलों का इसे एक्सीलेंस सेंटर में कन्वर्ट करूंगा। उसका डॉक्यूमेंटेशन किया, फॉर्मेलिटी पूरी करी, और वो भी हमारा एक स्कीम है RKBY, राष्ट्रीय कृषि विकास योजना, उसमें अप्रूव हो गया। और ये नेशनल हार्टिकल्चर मिशन RKBY की स्कीम, ये बहुत पुरानी स्कीम है, हमने कुछ नया नहीं किया। मैं ये नहीं कहना चाह रहा हूँ हमने बहुत बड़ी तीर मार दिया, केवल हमने एक छोटा सा इनिशिएटिव लिया। आज हमारे पास बांदा में 2 एक्सीलेंट सेंटर तैयार हैं।
ये आपकी जो इनिशिएटिव है, शायद आप जितने इतने सारे ऑफिसर्स नहीं हैं, इतने IAS ऑफिसर जो इस देश में इन इनिशिएटिव्स को आगे बढ़ाते हैं। आप ये जो कर रहे हैं, आज सब लोग इसको लाइव सुन रहे हैं, आई एम श्योर बहुत लोग इससे सीख लेंगे और इस काम पर आगे बढ़ेंगे। सर, मैं आपके पास फिर से आऊंगी। मेरा अगला प्रश्न है सोडी सर के लिए। सर, Amul has been most sustainable business story. I read this morning that you have put almost 8,000 crore cash into the hands of farmers during this lockdown. What is your take on revivalism of Made in India movement in a new avatar? Can we call it buy local for local?
And Dr. Sheenu Jain, let me please don't read just vocal for local or local. First, you have to see it. First, our Honorable Prime Minister said, Atmanirbharta, vocal for local and local for global. So it is only one thing. He said Atmanirbharta, why? Because one side we are saying that we are looking for better economy, better income for our people, and there are a lot of unemployment. The other side, billions of dollars we are spending in import of right from energy, minerals, electrical, electronics, even the edible oil. And some, I mean, when Prime Minister said this thing, I think some people must have this unbelievable. How can we do it? How can we become self-sufficient in all these big things where billion dollars? So, like Hariji mentioned in the beginning, I mean, if I take you back to the mid-70s, same was the situation in milk. We were milk deficit, we were dependent on imports, population increasing. So was the import, like it is happening in the edible oil. But what happened? In mid-70s, farmers, policymakers, and the political leadership decided that we have to become self-sufficient as far as milk is concerned. And what they did, they had already a model called Amul model in this part of Gujarat. So National Dairy Development Form to implement, but long-term policy decision was taken. So government supported, policymakers supported, and by mid-90s, we not only became number one, self-sufficient, but we became world largest producer of milk. Today, we are 2 times more than the USA, and mid-70s is 1/3 of the USA. Or we were 1/8 of Europe. Today, we are 25% higher than the Europe. So if we could do in that, we can do other products also. Only thing, firstly, we should get this confidence that we can do it. That is what Prime Minister was wanted to say, that we should have trust in our abilities, our resources, our skills, and our people. The second thing is that vocal for local and local for global. Let me tell you, nobody will buy local brand or Indian brand or Amul brand or Haldiram brand or Parle brand because it is made in India. Nobody is buying because of that. No doubt, we enjoy, we feel very patriotic, but they are buying because these brands are giving them the benefit. These brands are the best in their quality, uses of technology, whether it's the packaging or the giving shelf life or the taste, and third most is affordable. So what we want to see is, if you want to aspire global brand, firstly you have to become local brand leader. Unless you're the market leader in the domestic market, you can't dream about going global. I mean, how can you go global when nobody is preferring you or nobody is buying you? So first thing, and to become local brand leader, because if you take 30, 40 years back, India was dominated by all multinational foreign brands as far as food is concerned. Now Indian food market, more than 60-70% brands are local brands. Why? Because we could get the best quality product by using the latest technology and affordable. But in electronics, electrical, or other thing, it has not been like Harishji mentioned, because we are not able to meet the standards of technology. And when technology is not able to meet, affordability is also not coming. So, if you want to become global, please first become local brand leader. And for that, you have to ensure that you meet the customer expectation. Now, coming, what is the benefit of global brand? Harishji mentioned few things. Let me tell you, when you any if you are local market leader, because if your brand is selling, you are getting profit, you are getting market share, that is good enough. But as your brand becomes global, like most of the multinationals, wherever it is produced, wherever it is sold, wherever it is consumed in any country, but the brand owner, in this case, is a local brand, is besides earning the dividends, which Hariji mentioned, or profits, much more than is what that, much more than is royalty, technical R&D, which is 4 to 5% of the sale made in the country. Royalties are also around 5%. And above that is the gain in valuation. You see, any brand may be manufactured in India, may be sold in India, people are working with it, but besides the dividend, royalty, technical fee, as well as the appreciation in the brand valuation is going abroad. So that is what Prime Minister is saying. When India brands become globally, they may be produced there, but money will come to India. So what I feel is, why we should not become, you tell me. India has the world's largest market, fastest growing market. We have got 20% of India's population. No world brand can be called global if it is not present in India. Because at fastest growing economy, spending wise, and the largest middle class, we have got all the skills, we have got all the resources, and now you see what has happened is political leadership has decided now this is the challenge to the policy maker to make long-term policy. You see, this can't happen in 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years. You have to, whatever governments come and go, it has to be 20, 30 years policy. Then only Indian brands can become not only local brand leader, but global market leader. And that is possible, especially in durables, electrical, and we have got everything. So I think we should have trust in ourselves, especially the Indian manufacturer. You say consumer will buy it. Once the first time they will try because you are made in India.
Absolutely.
In fact, Amul started telling mid-90s taste of India. I mean, we have been promoting, but people are buying Amul butter, Amul juice not because it's only Indian, because it is matching their taste, it is of best quality, using latest technology, and it is affordable. I think now that is what I want to say now.
Absolutely. I think the product with the good quality, matching the quality standards, technology, and content with the current time. I think that's gonna stay longer rather than just using some marketing gimmicks calling local for vocal will work. Very well said, sir. Ajoy sir, welcome. Well, as I'm a woman, I'm a die-hard fan of Tanishq Designs, an absolute loyalist. Today, we all wish to know for an Indian brand like Tanishq, what does vocal about local mean? Unlike FMCG and other brands, you don't compete with international brands, do you? Or it is more to compete with the local jewelers?
Thank you, Shinu. Very interesting thoughts expressed by all my co-panelists. Good evening to everybody. First of all, I would, before I go into Tanishq and tell you a little bit about that, I must say I'm one of the biggest fans of Amul as a brand. So Sodhiji, I think
all of
as
us.
a customer, I buy Amul or consume Amul. One is of course quality and there is pride when I consume or buy Amul. In fact, I'm a very active
Thank you, Ajay.
evangelist
Thank
for
you.
Amul.
Thank you.
You
Thank you,
know,
Ajay.
the quality of the product, the purity, the wholesomeness of Amul brand really stands out, and that's what I would like to take from there. Shinuji, you asked me what does vocal about local mean for us. So Titan, whether be it watches or jewelry or saris recently or even perfumes, we have been in the market producing here brands which are created for India by Indian company. And I would like to believe that we have been able to bring to the Indian consumer a world-class product with world-class quality. I think that's the theme that is emerging. Customers buy quality, customers buy innovative and differentiated products, whether they are technically differentiated or design differentiated, or from a packaging and from a consumer service differentiated. Customers seek consistency, and I think brands which are able to give this quality, continued innovation, and a consistent experience, be it product experience or be it customer service in the way we serve them. I think that's how customer loyalty gets built. So the pride that comes with buying a brand which is made in India and has been created in India is something which sits on top of that. I wouldn't dismiss that. I think there is a certain pride. And as a company, we have been noticing that there's a rising trend in the pride in India products. In fact, one of the planks for us to have launched Taneira, in which I was involved in, saris, which is hand-woven saris from across the country. One of the key planks was the rise of ethnic wear, the pride in India, and not just a pride, pure patriotic or nationalistic pride, but genuine pride in terms of how Indians are viewing themselves in the world order. I think today, Indians over the last 10, 15 years have established excellence in terms of the way we deliver, be it from IT, be it from our ability to compete in the world economy, and be it standing as people who are able to deliver excellence. So I think this pride in India is sitting somewhere there, and our Prime Minister has correctly, in fact, brought out that insight that there is pride in what we do. So I would say, along with all the important must-haves for any brand to succeed, the pride in India plays a big role. But here I would also like to say, if I were to take from the Tanishq experience, what we have done over the last 25 years is tried to bring about an organized way of functioning in an otherwise unorganized industry, which was largely run by family jewelers and with babus and karigars who make the product. So I think the Make in India program, or even the local brand program, has to look at not just as the product excellence or customer experience that we are able to deliver, but how are we able to create that kind of products? Can we leverage the skill of the local artisan, which we have, I think, about, I was told about 1 million artisans or karigars who make jewelry, beautiful jewelry they make. But the way in which they make it is very, very, when you see it, it's heartbreaking, because the conditions in which they work, the very inhuman work conditions, the kind of labor practices that are there, it's completely cottage industry. So for us, being a world-class brand or a world-class product brand, it's also hand in hand, it goes with the excellence and the manner in which we are able to create this product. So for us, it is 4 P's. It is about purity. Certainly, product has to be pure and it has to be excellent. It is about processes and practices so that we ensure good quality. It's about the people who are creating these products. Do they have dignity of work? Do they have the right kind of work environment? Do they have the capability, and can we upgrade their capability both for quality and design over time? And the fourth very important P, which has become critical and has always been important for the Tata Group, which we are proudly belonging to, is that of the planet. Are we creating brands and products which are sustainable, and in which we are not damaging the planet, but we are adding back to the planet. So all these in a way create a comprehensive framework. So to me and to us, yes, you have to be local in terms of the way you cater to customer demand. You have to be global in the way you're thinking about your quality and practices. And we have to be responsible as Indian brands to be able to create the right ecosystem and lead that entire ecosystem to, in a way, create industry leadership. So customer leadership, product leadership, brand leadership, but also industry leadership. So that's the way we have been thinking about Tanishq and all the brands that come from the house of Titan.
Very well said, Ajoy. Purity, process and practices, people and planning, the new 4 Ps that I got today. I mean, we all have been talking about product, price, place, and promotion as, you know, the 4 Kotler Ps. I think we all have been grown up. So I think that's going to be a good message for all the students to see, you know, how the, especially brands coming from a Tata Group is looking into it. My next question is to Samar. Samar, you had worked with various brands like right from Kingfisher to Spencer to PepsiCo to, you know, Energizer, Cadbury, Brook Bond, Lipton in various capacities in India and dealt with a lot of international clients as well. I could see there are 3 types of companies emerging after the PM's announcement. Harish was also mentioning about them. Like, you know, we have a global multinational, we have an Indian multinational, and we have an Indian company. What's your take on these companies' responses?
Shinu, thank you. Like you said, I have personal experience with all these types of companies. Now, traditionally, presence and ownership has defined these companies. However, today there are several other complexities, such as tax liabilities, capital investments, job creation, repatriation of profits overseas, taxation, and as we have seen in the case of Vodafone, retrospective taxation, and very recently, data security and privacy issues, data ownership, where the servers are located. So I think the so-called traditional definitions of global Indian multinationals and Indian companies, in my mind, need to be upgraded. And let me give you a few examples. Many so-called Indian companies have their operations and presence overseas. You know, either they are co-owned and JV operations and presence overseas, or outsourced operations and presence overseas, or just presence overseas through exports. What would you call these companies? Would you call them Indian companies, or would you call them Indian multinationals? I mean, examples of Dabur, for instance, where I work, has had Red Rock operations in the Middle East and many other countries for years. United Breweries, where I was the CMO, we sold our products across 70 countries, including exports as well as contract manufacturing. And yet United Breweries would be considered an Indian company, although an Indo-Dutch joint venture. Surprisingly, Haldiram's and Bikanerwala have operations overseas as well. So typical Indian companies also seem to have operations overseas. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, many global multinationals in India are more Indian than many Indian companies in every way, other than perhaps ownership, whether it is in terms of Indian thought processes and philosophy, brands that are relevant to India, communication that is very Indian, employees are all Indian, sourcing from India, investments into India, taxes paid in India, job creation in India, and CSR done in India. I mean, 2 of my alma maters, in fact, 3 of my alma maters come to mind. Hindustan Unilever, which is probably more Indian than many other companies that are. See, one of the things we used to talk about when we were combating Coke is somehow Coke was always seen as a big US company, and Pepsi was always seen as not so much a US company. Cadbury's is again another example, and Amazon. I think according to me, Amazon has done an amazing job. I mean, when the guy called you, he said, "Hello, sir, calling from Amazon." So, you know, even people who are buying don't think that it is a foreign company. So many global multinationals which have Indianized themselves really well. Then there are companies in India that seem to be Indian, but are partially or majority owned by foreign capital. And a lot of new economy companies are in that category. Paytm, Oyo, Swiggy, Flipkart, Ola, Byju's, Zomato. Most people don't know that a lot of these companies are majority owned by, for instance, Chinese venture capital, whether it's SoftBank or Tencent, but most people don't care. Now, some global multinationals are totally foreign owned and are seen as such. Companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, Nike, Levi's, and they have their own charm and own relevance. People will buy their products because we like them, not because they are global multinationals. Now, there are also very clearly Indian multinationals that are headquartered in India, but have significant presence overseas. Companies like the Tatas and Birlas. What would you call them? Would you call them Indian multinationals? Let's take the flip side of this. What about companies that are owned and headquartered overseas, that have presence overseas and in India, and could be owned really by Indians or Indian origin people, people like the Hindujas, people like Lakshmi Mitta's company? What would you call these companies, regardless of the citizenship or origin of their owners? Also, what about joint ventures like Maruti with Suzuki? Where do they stand? One can argue that a combination of an Indian and a Japanese company arguably revolutionized personal transportation in this country 25 years ago. Let me go a little further. What about Indian and Indian origin CEOs of foreign companies? Companies like Diageo. Ivan Menezes heads Diageo. Microsoft. You have Satya Nadella heading Microsoft. You have Sundar Pichai heading Google. Indra Nooyi, my super boss at PepsiCo. MasterCard, Ajay Banga. And what about foreign CEOs of Indian companies? For instance, Ranbaxy had Brian Tempest for many years. Various airline companies have had, Jet Airways had Wolfgang Prock-Scheuer. RJ Corp, Ravi Jaipuria, Butler has got Chris White, a foreigner. Very often, either Indian CEOs of foreign companies or foreign CEOs in Indian companies can influence the company's thinking to be Indian or foreign. Let me give you an alternative classification of foreign companies and brands. I have a 3-tier classification: purists, hybrids, and adapters. And let me explain. Purists are the companies that keep their brands, their communication, their thinking and philosophy similar all across the world. Brands like Apple come to mind. Brands like Rolex come to mind. Johnny Walker, their Keep Walking campaign is global. Heineken, a brand that I launched, is very proudly says one world, one Heineken. It's exactly the same taste across the world. And you will find that these companies, by and large, have been less successful in this country, if you're a purist. Then you have the hybrids, companies like Red Bull, companies like Domino's, or brands like Domino's and McDonald's. Now, Red Bull does something, a lot of people say Red Bull is actually just a content creation company who also happens to sell, energy drinks. But Red Bull does something called Flugtag across the world. Today, in India, they've converted that to Dahi Handi. So they've maintained the high energy outdoor kind of positioning, but they've Indianized the execution of that. Or Domino's sells keema pizzas, which are the largest selling, or McDonald's sells Makalu Tikki burgers. So those are what I call the hybrids. Then there are the adapters, which become completely like the local economy. So for instance, PepsiCo is exactly like that. Cadbury's is like that. Amazon, I already talked about. And you'll notice that the hybrids and the adapters have really been more successful in this country than the purists. And as far as Indian companies are concerned, and something that Ajoy mentioned and Mr. Sodhi mentioned, Harish mentioned, Hiralalji mentioned, my sense is that made in India needs to also evolve to made by India and made for India. Now, made in India, I could have a foreign company coming in and making in India with foreign employees, with foreign investment. And I think as Mr. Sodhi mentioned and Harish also mentioned, in terms of taking the money away back to the foreign. In fact, just today, I was reading an interview of Mr. Sodhi's and lots of other friends and colleagues of mine on the Kirana business. And I happened to read how the AAR is put in a query to the US-based private equity company that sold their stake in Flipkart to Walmart and routed it through their Mauritius subsidiary, saying that it is clearly a tax avoidance procedure. So, these complexities come in as well. Now, made in India needs to move to made by India. How about Indian being employed out there, Indian machinery, Indian infrastructure, and then also made for India, for the domestic market. Let us not forget that the reason China became popular as a global supply chain market was essentially first because they had a large domestic market. So we need to build our large domestic market as well, and that will attract a lot of more business. Now, one last thing, vocal about local. I have a contrarian view to some of the speakers before me. I don't think it is to be taken literally. it's not a new slogan. It's been there since, as Harish said, Gandhiji, Swadeshi, etc. I think it's been misunderstood. The context in which it has been said, unfortunately, is pure politics and is not to be taken literally. It doesn't mean protectionism. It does not mean boycotting foreign goods. Capitalism, by definition, means that the best, cheapest, fastest, lightest will succeed, because that is what most consumers want. Now, most consumers don't know and don't care about companies. They care about brands, they care about products, services, and experiences. Companies, brands, services, and experiences will only be successful in India if they are relevant to the Indian market and Indian conditions and sensitive to Indian culture.
Very true, Samar. I think remaining relevant is very important. And what you said is very right. Context is misunderstood. I love the three company structure that you talked about: purist, hybrid, and adaptive. I think that's a good message for all the students to see, how the companies can be classified in today's context. Thanks, Samar. Sodhi sir, I'll come back. I have one more question for you. What is the importance of local manufacturing, local market, and local supply chain, especially with reference to Amul? Do you also see a need for a second white revolution?
Yeah, definitely. You see, the reason is very simple. What around 68% people reside in rural India. Okay, and now one has to provide them very stable and remunerative source of livelihood. And when you are in rural India, how you can earn? You can earn either through cultivation or through animal husbandry or doing some jobs and etc. also. But if you see last 10 years data, growth-wise, 14% per annum growth is coming in income of a rural residence through animal husbandry. All India GDP, if you see, animal has been contributing 4.5%. It is growing year by year, whereas contribution of agriculture is declining. Now you are reading a lot of people are migrating back. Millions of people are going back mainly to East UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa, West Bengal, these things. So what are they going to do there? They have no jobs. They don't have land. But if you see, all these states are deficit of milk. They're importing lakhs of crores of milk from other states. So what is required is, if these youths can be used for animal husbandry, this Honorable Finance Minister has announced a package of 15,000 crore rupees at Dairy Infrastructure Fund. And this 15,000 crore, you can create dairy infrastructure for 5 crore liter or 15 million liters per day. Today we got a organized processing facilities for 11 crore liters. And mainly happened during White Revolution 1. So this 15,000 crore is used like what it was used during Dr. Varghese Korean White Revolution, and when we made India self-sufficient world largest, can be used constructively through National Dairy Development Board. We can create around 30 lakhs jobs, 30 lakhs source of livelihood to the rural families, because 1 lakh liter in the organized sector means 6,000 jobs, 5,000 in the rural India, 1,000 in the supply chain in the urban India. So if we come with the white revolution, dependence on the only providing job in the urban India will reduce, and our rural economy will improve. And let me tell you, any money pumped into rural economy directly comes into the economic. I mean, they'll start by, it will create the demand, and the demand will come for the all industrial product, all consumer product, and then urbanism. Or if you give 1 or 1.5 lakh crore rupees, just give it to the rural economy. You see, whatever we are talking about, shrinkage of economy, everything will come back. But because we have to take care of it.
Absolutely, sir. I think when you're talking about 30 lakh source of livelihood through, this opportunity, that's going to be a huge opportunity. I believe rural is the next thing that's going to catch up in the times to come. Thank you, sir.